another way of covering for redundancy or backup purposes, we mirrored our system files. So it would copy or if one drive were to quit or hard drive is quit, it would have a backup redundancy. And we implemented that with RAID 5, which goes in threes. So it copies here, and disk 2, then it would copy in disk 3. So if one were to fail, it would go and go right on here. And we move forward to
I'm Kevin Metcalf. One of the requirements that we had, because of accessing the Unix servers, they will only accept an 8-character username and password at the maximum. So on the people that work in those shipping offices, we took their usernames and they have to be 8. We used their first name and whatever their last name was and truncated it to the base. We made their password, the policy be their password, had to be 8 characters, couldn't be more, couldn't be less, and it did have to be alphanumeric. It was as secure as we could get, because the Unix servers won't allow any kind of special characters. So we can't use complexity requirements on it. All of the users in both domains, or both forests, had 14 character logins. Logins were first name and last name separated by a period, and their password had to be at least 14 characters, did meet complexity requirements, which means any 3 of letters, numbers, and special characters. The history for the password, or the history for the number of passwords, we set at 24, so that they had to change their password every 30 days. The minimum age on a password was 15. This keeps them from changing their password 10 times, 24 times, 25 times, so they use the same password again. And then to do this on the 2 different domains, if they were all in the same domain, in theory you can't have 2 password policies. We were originally going to try, and from the reading we've done, think we can do it. You can actually set up separate password policies on the same domain and filter them by groups or users. So that was the first theory that we were going to use. Because we had already set up the shipping offices as child domains, we set the policy there, block inheritance from the parent domain for that policy so they could have different password policies. Next thing was that all of the enterprise admins and Laramie had to be able to control everything in all the domains. The child domains of Denver and Knoxville, the shipping offices, was automatic. Because it was a child domain, they could automatically control everything there. To get them to control Edmonton, we had to set them up first in a global group, but then in a universal group. Set up the universal group over in Edmonton, put them in there, and then move them over to a domain local group so that they could control everything there. And then just gave permissions to the appropriate resources in that domain. We did have to set up to install OpenOffice on all the workstations and all the domains, and we also needed claim antivirus software and all of the servers and claim win on all of the workstations. Set this up through the default domain policy, and then just forced it out through that group policy to all the computers. We did actually test this. We didn't do it with one of the antivirus programs. One of the other things we have to set up for redundancy that I think one of the other guys was talking about was shadow copies. So we pushed out the previous version software that you also need for that. through that group policy, it did work down to one of the file servers in the domain, just by setting it up correctly on the domain controller. All of the managers of all the different groups, manufacturing, IT, sales, shipping, had to be able to modify their users, but they were not allowed to delete users or add users. So we had to set that policy, and we basically just delegated control to them for that group. First had to put all those users in a group, delegate control to them for the group, and once we did that, there are settings in there for how much privileges they can have, whether they can add or remove, whether they can modify, etc. So we've set those privileges accordingly. All of our stores, make sure I'm on the right one. That's it. Now we're up to our church.
We got to it tonight. Awesome. Alright, just bear with me. What we're talking about here is that each company is to have a single public IP address so you can access the internet. Basically, each store is going to have the private IP addresses, and they're all going to go to a single public IP address to access the internet. Okay, we're going to do this by having a DSL connection with the third-party technology, which is the provider, which is going to be, say, Time Warner Cable or whatnot, something like that. We're providing web service, internet, and email service. Okay, this one says private IP addresses should be used internally whenever possible. Internal addresses should be assigned automatically to minimize network administration efforts. So basically what we did here is we split up scopes on DC1 and DC2. Half of the ranges on DC1 and DC2 is like a backup. Here, DI Sportswear, which is Canada, is going to have outside staff. We're going to have outside staff that travel around the country. These people will carry laptops. So what we want them to do is, from wherever they're at, home or anywhere around the country, access the corporations for their resources. What we did was we gave them a laptop, use VPN, and we bought 2 extra laptops. We did 10 users, we bought 12 of them, just for redundancy. If something goes down, we got the rest.